everyone, and welcome. If you're a small business owner, I'm sure you know that navigating health benefits can feel, well, impossible. But what if I told you there are some really creative options out there beyond those super expensive standard plans? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the world of alternative insurance. Does this slide hit a little too close to home? You want to do right by your people, right? Offer them great benefits to keep them happy and attract new talent, but it feels like all the good plans are built for giant corporations. It's a huge challenge for sure, but here's the good news. You are not stuck. We're about to break down some really powerful strategies that put you back in control. All right, so first things first. Before we can even talk about solutions, we have to get to the heart of the problem. And it all starts with a question that's actually trickier than it sounds. In the eyes of an insurer, what is a small business? Believe it or not, the answer to that question changes everything. So here it is. Generally speaking, a small employer is any business with between 2 and 50 full-time employees. Now, this simple little definition is basically a gatekeeper. It decides the rules, the prices, and the plans that you can even get access to. It's the real reason small businesses just don't have the same bargaining power as the big guys. So, if being small is the core of the challenge, what's the solution? Well, one of the smartest strategies is to stop acting so small. By teaming up with other businesses, you can create a much larger, way more powerful group. Let's dig into how exactly that works. And here's the main idea. It's called a multiple employer trust, or a MET for short. Think of it like a co-op, but for insurance. It pools a bunch of small businesses together into one big group. And here's the key. The trust itself holds the master insurance contract, not your company. This gives the whole group the kind of buying power that usually only a much, much larger employer would have. And getting into one is actually pretty straightforward. Your business subscribes to the trust, you sign something called a joiner agreement, which just locks you into the terms, and then boom, your employees get a certificate of insurance, just like they would with any traditional plan. It's a really elegant way to level the playing field. Now, a similar idea is the Multiple Employer Welfare Arrangement, or MEWA. You'll hear this term too. Just like a MET, it's all about employers banding together. But the big difference here is that MEWAs are often self-funded. What that means is the group itself is acting as the insurer, paying claims directly from a shared pot of money. So how do you keep them straight? You can think of it like this. A MET is for buying insurance from a big carrier. A MEWA is often about providing the benefits yourselves as a group. The most important distinction, though, is that MEWAs require all the member businesses to have a common bond, like you're all part of the same trade association. And they're regulated by ERISA, which is a federal law that helps protect everyone in the plan. Okay, so pooling your resources is one powerful strategy. But what about the complete opposite approach? What if instead of joining a big group, you took total control over your own company's health benefits? It might sound a little radical, but it's way more common and honestly safer than you probably think. Before we go a single step further, we have to clear up the single biggest myth about this. This is so important. When we say self-insurance, we are not talking about having no insurance. It's not just crossing your fingers and hoping for the best. It's a formal, structured plan. Here's how a self-funded plan works. Your company sets aside money specifically to pay for your employees' medical claims directly. So instead of writing a big check for a premium to an insurer every month, you only pay for the actual healthcare costs your team uses. And yeah, it is a formal employee benefit plan, also regulated by that same federal law, ERISA, to make sure employees are protected. So why on earth would a business do this? It really comes down to one word: control. You get way more control of your cash flow, you get the flexibility to design a benefits package that actually works for your people, and you can save a lot of money by not paying an insurer's profit margins. It's often a fantastic fit for companies that have a pretty stable, healthy team and want to be more hands-on with their healthcare spending. Of course, the million-dollar question is, what happens if there is a catastrophic claim? A massive hospital bill could be devastating. Well, this is where the safety net comes in. Self-funded employers buy a special kind of policy called stop-loss insurance. If the total claims go over a certain limit you've already set, the stop-loss policy kicks in and pays you back, so you're never ever exposed to unlimited risk. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds like a ton of paperwork. Do I have to process every single claim myself? The answer is a resounding no, and that brings us to the amazing support systems that are available. See, taking control doesn't mean you have to do it all by yourself. There's a whole industry of services out there designed to support these kinds of plans. Plus, we're going to look at a really clever solution for groups that just don't fit into that traditional employer box at all. This is how you get that expert help. It's through something called an Administrative Services Only contract, or ASO. With an ASO, a self-funded business just hires an insurance company, or more often a specialized company called a third-party administrator, or TPA, to handle all the complicated day-to-day stuff. So what do these guys actually do? Pretty much everything an insurance company does, except take on the financial risk. They'll process the claims, they manage the prescription drug cards, they handle all the COBRA paperwork, and they even help you communicate the benefits to your employees. You get all the expertise without paying for the insurance itself. It's a win-win. Okay, now for something a little different. What about groups where there isn't one single employer? Like a professional society for freelance graphic designers. That is exactly where franchise health plans come into play. They're specifically designed to offer group-like benefits to individuals who all belong to the same association. So here's the cool part about how these work. Each person actually applies for and gets their own individual policy. But because the whole thing is sponsored by the association, everybody gets access to discounted group rates. It is a fantastic option for covering people who would never qualify for traditional group insurance. Okay, wow, we have covered a lot of ground here. From pooling resources to going it alone, we've talked about METs, MUAs, self-funding, franchise plans. So how in the world do you make sense of all of this and figure out what's the right fit for your business? Let's try to put it all together right here. As you can see on this chart, if you really want the buying power of a big company, a MET is probably a great place to start. If you're already part of a strong trade association, a MUA could be a perfect fit. If you're someone who craves maximum control and flexibility, self-funding is definitely the way to go. And for those non-traditional groups, well, franchise plans offer that really unique solution. The big takeaway here is that the world of small business health benefits is so much bigger and more flexible than most people realize. You have options, real options, beyond the standard one-size-fits-all plan. So the question isn't really if you can afford great benefits, but which of these creative paths is the right one for you to start exploring for your team.